So, introducing Circle Whirlwind, new masks. Stay tuned. So I created these designs, I call them Circle Whirlwind, and they're kind of like, there's 8 pieces in the whole set. But some of them are circles that fit into the other circles so that after they're cut and they're all taken apart, they're just different sizes. And they're all different shapes. So, and they're sort of odd shapes as you can see. And obviously I've already used these. They were a lot of fun. So come on the journey with me and watch me as I use these for the first time and we create some jelly papers. Let's get to it. Okay, so here are some of the colors that I'll be using. Ivory black, turquoise blue, azo yellow medium, primary magenta, Titan buff, Quinacridone Nichel Azo Gold, which is going away soon, and green gold, Hansa yellow, and Alizarin crimson. So here is one of my new sets. It's called Circle Whirlwind. And these were just drawn on Procreate. And in one pack, I think it has a total of 8 pieces altogether. I don't know, it looks like even more than that. But a lot of them are very, very usable. And some are just like small pieces that can still be used in if you're trying to get a certain kind of composition. So I love this new set. I think it's very versatile. And in this video, we're going to do a lot of layers where we're using the same masks over and over. And I'm going to do a couple that are using this smaller stencil. So I'm going to start with an alizarin crimson. And we're going to do the small pattern first. So in this very first print, my thinking was that this was what I was going to do with all of them, but it turns out I only did it on this one print, at least on camera. So I'm starting by picking up the background because I want to leave the ghost of the circles on the plate. That's my hair. So after that dries, we're going to add some yellow. This is the Hansa yellow. And we're going to mix it in with a little Nichel Azo Gold. It makes a really beautiful color, that combination. So now we're going to lay down our stencils, excuse me, and we're going to pick that up with the previous deli paper. I like to overlay on the deli papers because I just love, I get those additional prints. And so after that dries, I'm going to pick this up with Titan Buff. So Titan Buff is really a great background because it's a creamy color and it's very opaque, so it does a great job of picking up all of your layers. So in this case, it's like multiple layers, but one pull. The rest of them in this video are going to be individual layers where we're going over each one. We're not waiting for them to dry. And unfortunately, a couple of my videos are lost. I had like a very trying day because of the air conditioning, and I think that I just didn't realize that my camera wasn't recording. Sorry about that. So what I'm starting here with is I'm going to just make all the backgrounds, and I'm going to do a bunch of them. So I'm going to kind of try to speed this up so that you're not watching me, you know, rubbing on the back of papers on all of them. We're going to try to just go through them all, and you'll see I'm just going to mix maybe 2 colors on the plate. I like that unevenness of the color as my background. So I'm just going to keep making backgrounds, and then we're going to overlay them with our stencils or masks. And sometimes the backgrounds, the messier the better. I don't want a solid color. I'm looking for a little bit more interest. And I like that variation in color. I like when it doesn't mix and also when it mixes. And we really get some beautiful colors. So in this case, I wanted a lighter color, so I added some titanium white. Because I want to have some backgrounds that are darker and some that are lighter, so we get some kind of variations. So when you're mixing on the plate, when you do a little bit of a swirl, it kind of helps all those colors blend together. I still was getting a blob in the middle of the magenta. So with these big tubes, I sometimes squirt out too much. So you might have seen me pick it up with a palette knife on some of the other backgrounds. I'm still getting used to these big tubes and how easily the paint comes out. And this one left a lot of paint. That last one left a lot of paint on the plate. So I just added a little bit of I think it was the Titan Buff or the titanium white, and I mixed it all together and I got a lighter shade. But it's a little messy, but it's fine. And that's a little bit of green gold I'm mixing with the white. It makes a really nice sort of almost lime green. I'm mixing the white with the Nichel Azo Gold. We got beautiful colors with this color. I almost always mix it with something else. Sometimes I use it straight, but a lot of times I'm mixing. Okay, so now we're going to use our stencils. Now, unfortunately, this first one, you'll see I already have the background layer and one layer on the sheet before I overlay it on these masks. Well, first we're going to pick this up, I think. Oh, no. So we're going to go right over this sheet. So as you could see, it had some yellow over the teal or turquoise, whatever you want to call it. And now we are making our third layer, which is like a negative space. And that is what masks are really great for, is the negative space. So you see those other layers underneath. It's absolutely beautiful. And that's where you need contrast. Squirted a little bit too much again. So I wanted to lighten this up too. That
That turquoise blue is a very dark shade. And I don't always want it quite that dark. And I like it a little bit more on the warm side, so that's why I add the yellow. So in some of these prints I am using the smaller stencils, but my favorites end up being the ones that are just mask on every layer. I guess I'm more of a minimalist. I like sometimes to have the smaller patterns, but only when it's subtle. I'm picking this up with the deli paper. And I keep all the deli papers because they could also be really great in collage because they become very transparent and you see the colors underneath, and it just makes a really great effect on collage. So I'm using what's left of my magenta now, my primary magenta. I knew I needed a little bit more. I think I still had some turquoise on my brayer, but that's fine. It's giving me an interesting color combination here. So in this case, again, I am going for the negative and I want the smaller pattern to show through. Because it was very transparent, you still see the pattern. If it was black, or maybe even Payne's gray, like a really dark color, you probably would not have seen it. Now here's an example of me just overlaying on top of one that already had the masks. And I love that. So that looks like it's 3 layers of just masks. And I will show you in detail at the end all of the prints that I've made, including the ones that ended up not on camera. And I'm taking advantage of both my negative, this was negative, the yellow, and the pink is peeking through. I like the way that looks. But now, the ghost that was left, I'm now going to, this is like the 4th layer on this. But they're all subtle. And the color family is not that different. So it's not as busy as the previous one. I absolutely love this one. So I'm really not stopping in between. Some days, this is how I like to work. I like to work fast. Just keep going, keep going. Just intuitively picking up a color and just going for it. So again, I'm using the green gold as a negative. So it's really covering all of that paper. And then we're going to put that green gold that's left over this other background. So I'm glad I made a lot of backgrounds because that gave me more options. And some of them I only did 1 layer on them, and some of them I did 2, and as you could see, one I did 4. And since I was really happy with the layering of just the masks, I continued to do more of that. Okay, this one I actually flipped around because I was afraid it might be too similar the way I had the masks laid. So you could always do that. You could leave them exactly the same way and just flip the whole thing around and it looks different. Okay, so here's some of our prints. This was the first one that I did that had the small stencil. This one you did not see, and I was using white to sort of black out the background in a negative pattern so that you saw the small stencil through. This one was layering our masks. I think that looks like it's about two or three layers. This one had just the teal background, the yellow layer, and the black on top of that. This is showing the small pattern through a big pattern. This was also just 2 layers. The yellow was a negative and allowing the pink to show through. And this was 4 layers. Love that one. And that was 2 layers over the background. And this one only had 1, and I liked it enough that I didn't want to do anything more to it. So I was trying to think of which ones were my favorites, and I think it's these 2, but definitely that one. But I also really like this one, the simplicity of it. But most definitely that is my favorite, the winner of the day.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun today. I'm sorry that if some of them didn't all make it into the video. I'm not exactly sure. At one point I looked down, camera was not running. Oh my God. But it's super, super hot in here today, and I'm not exactly really feeling like working in this heat. At least you got to see all of them in my final presentation, and you could see that layering masks on top of each other. Let's say you only had one set of masks. All you have to do is layer them, and you get a different pattern every time. And some of those, in this case, some of them were subtle and fantastic. I was very, very happy with those. So, as you heard me say, I'm sure. Anyway, don't forget to create, inspire, and share, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.